Yes. Welcome to the Good Life. Benny, good morning.
Hi
Everybody, good
there.
morning, good afternoon, good
Hello.
evening, wherever we're at in the world, Mexico, UK, Australia. All the beams of light. Benny, how are
All
you?
the beans are beams. Okay, I was
Beams.
making sure. Okay, because if it was beans, it'd be like post Thanksgiving. So I don't know if you're moving on to something new. I mean, because we
Oh,
had
yes.
the turkeys running around, so it's just the way it works. Those are my gobbles. Those are my turkeys. You didn't expect that, did you? Those are my turkeys. Look, I've named them Jack, Janet, and Chrissy. I'm just kidding. It's from Three's Company.
No, you
Oh my
lost.
gosh, Sue, we
Where
need
we went from turkey. You got to go a little slower with me. I got to catch up.
Sorry, I've been up for about 5 hours already, so I've had a chance to wrangle that one in. All right.
Oh, welcome everybody. Oh, Benny, I love you. Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. And of course, my superstar, you, Benny, and making all this happen and the magic going on.
Sure.
To be alive, Benny.
Yeah.
To be alive
Like right now, right?
right now.
Mm-hmm.
Gobble gobble with
There. Oh,
everything
you asked
done.
for him again.
Yes, I did. Yeah, oh God, we're gonna have a fun conversation. I just know it. Hey, audience, let me ask you something. You might die tomorrow, right? So why not live today? I have an incredible guest that's joining me today, Kate. And I mean, I have incredible guests all the time and have really, really important conversations around mindset and around shifting mindsets. And you all know, and you've been here listening to me for over 15 years, it's really important that I bring on guests and people that not only are walking their talk, but also will give us real time, real life practical tools to help us with that mindset, to help us establish a positive mindset, not the fairy tale stuff. I mean, there's some hard work that goes into this, and you make it what it needs to be. And I say hard work, and in that you have to make the choice to do the work is what I'm saying. And you've got to cross that beer. No, I don't drink beer. It's not on my
Were the
mind, but you have
holidays
to.
really that good?
I
I
know.
mean,
Like,
wow.
where did that come from? I don't know. Roaring fire, cabin. I don't
Aha.
know. Kate got me all in that kind of cozy mode. But where I'm going with all of this is crossing that fear, that bridge of fear, that bridge of initiation, and really living the life that you are thriving, you are striving for, and wanting is a bit of a wiggly word for me. I want to say desire and intending to really anchor that in. So, with all of that being said, I want to welcome Kate. Now, let me tell you a little bit about Kate. Y'all can't see me on the video, but if you want to join us on YouTube, you can do that. And just go to YouTube on and just type in 11:50 a.m. Her latest book, You Might Die, and it's more than a book. It's actually a movement, and it's an important conversation to have any day, really. You might die tomorrow, so live today. Face your fear of death to live your most meaningful life. Miss Kate, before we get started, I want to read something from this beautiful little gem. Before we get started, take a deep breath and look up at the sky. Close your eyes, put your hand over your heart, allow a smile to spread across your face, and say, "Hey, I'm alive." Ah, girl, it gives me goosebumps.
That's it. That's
That is
it.
it.
Okay,
Oh,
show's over. We've all done that.
done.
We're feeling the aliveness coursing through our veins and our soul. Yeah, that's what it's all about. It's a
It
beautiful day to be
is.
alive today, Sue, and I'm so happy to be here with you.
Yes, and I was going to do the formal bio, but I want to tell you, I want to jump in with you. I want to hear you why. I want to let's get the audience to get to know you, your energy, and of course, I was reading the book, and I really wanted to start off with that first little passage in the book because it's important, and you actually wrote that in your emails, and let's set the stage for love and happy and joy and juicy and crackling fireplaces and
Yeah. Yeah. Before we hopped on, I was telling Sue that I'm traveling. I've been traveling around in this RV for the past couple of years on and off, and I'm in this very tiny town out in West Texas that I really enjoy coming to. And the place that I normally stay here doesn't have very good internet. And I was like, okay, I got to be on my A game for Sue because she's a pro. Like this is such an important
Oh,
and
thank
just
you.
empowering show. Like I gotta have my internet and everything on lockdown. And so I put a post up on the community board. They literally use a message board in this community, and saying, hey, I'm going to be on this radio show, but I need a place to record with good internet. And these people that I've never met said, hey, come to our house. You can sit in our library, take all the time you need. So that's where I am right now, is in this room with this gorgeous, volumes of old books behind me. If you're listening, I've got a fire. There's a literal burning fire crackling in the background, and I'm physically warm because of the fire, but also warm because that's love, as you said,
That's
Sue.
love. That is. And look at all the wisdom that's surrounding you too. Love and wisdom within the books and all of those authors that are standing in the rink, right? They're
Mhm.
getting dirty and muddy and like you and this beautiful little gem. Let's talk about your journey, how this started. I could go through the whole formal bio with Google and all that, and you can talk about your profession and professional life, and then what happened subsequently in Australia and when we're traveling and all the stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, I'll just tell a quick, actually a not that quick story. Yeah, Sue's putting on the screen the Alive workbook and my book, You Might Die Tomorrow. And I was going through life much like a lot of us do. I was kind of, from high school, and then I went to college and I met a guy. We got married, we got a dog, and then we got another dog. We bought a house, and I got this great job at Google. So I worked there for several years, and then all of a sudden you sort of get to the top of that mountain and you're like, oh wait, I think I might be on the wrong mountain. And around that time when I was just feeling like I was feeling like an actor in my own life, really. It was like, oh, like this
Mm.
all makes sense, like I get it, I'm here, this is my life. And it, on paper it's great, but something about it just wasn't me. And but I had built it brick by brick, right? And around that same time, I had, in the span of 6 months, three of my friends. And one of them was actually my boss at Google, another one was a friend from college, and another one was my ex-husband's cousin, when we were still married. And they were
Mm.
all around my same age, and so they died within 6 months, all in unexpected, unrelated events. And that was not my moment of awakening. It was actually quite the opposite. And many people watching and listening, you might have gone through and be able to identify with what I experienced, which was, maybe you've gone through a period in your life where you feel just like abnormally afraid of dying. And I have definitely hypochondria tendencies. So I was constantly on Google thinking I was dying from different obscure diseases like brain eating amoebas or God knows what, right? Like Dr. Google. And and I also was afraid of driving my car. I thought I was going to hit somebody, or someone was going to. It was just, I was thinking about death all the time. And now I can see that it was like I had never really thought about dying before. And so when those three people died, it was like the safety of my life had been taken away. And suddenly it was like death could be hiding out for me around every corner. So I
Mm.
stayed in that life. I was afraid of death. I was still working at Google, still living this life. I ended up getting a divorce. And so that was one new leaf that I did turn over, until counterintuitively, what popped me out of that year, it was a year of deep death anxiety, was a fourth friend of mine died unexpectedly. His name was Dan Friedenberg, and he was actually climbing Mount Everest when the Nepal earthquake struck in April 2015. And he
Mm.
was killed in an avalanche high up on the mountain. But the reason that was so, it changed my life. It completely changed my life, because here I was, so afraid to like literally walk across the street. And then here
Mm.
was my friend Dan, who I really looked up to and was sort of living vicariously through. And he was risking everything to live his most vibrant life. And that was when I realized, and this is important, that we all have a limited quantity of time and energy in our lives. And I could spend mine trying not to die, something that's going to happen to us all regardless, and we have very little control over. Or I can put that energy into living. And that was from that day what I decided to do. Now, it wasn't that every day was sunshine and rainbows after that. You guys are listening to Sue's radio show. I know she's taught you that once you have a spiritual awakening, you still got to go through the muck and the mud every day.
Totally. Yeah.
But the last thing I'll say on that is, before we pause and chat, is just that every single day now when I wake up and I really do my best to be like, oh my gosh, I got the privilege to wake up. It's a beautiful day to be alive. Everything that's involved in the spectrum of life, from pain to joy and everything in between, is part of the gift of life. And, it's some days it's really hard, but that's how I live now. Is I live with the notion that I might die tomorrow, but I'm so bleeping grateful to be alive today.
Yay, me too. And to share your story. Okay. Let's talk about what happened, love. Because you did. You had quite a little journey with that beautiful brain of yours.
Well, I mean, the brain, the spirit, the soul, all of those things working together. And I think we have, all of us hear those voices, and we have opportunities for awakening. And I encourage, what I've learned through this is that we have to listen to those murmurings, and we have to, I mean, if we want to have big change and growth and courage, because I think that's where courage comes from. And yeah, I sway between fearful and resilience. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know that I can resonate with anxiety and fear. I didn't even know what I didn't know. I just knew I was scared shiitake-less. Audience, bear with me here. But like you said, and mine was based in trauma, and it wasn't so much, at least logically, I didn't think at the time, I'm scared to die. It was more because I had 3 young kids, and oh my God, I think it was more about leaving them than anything, and it was, and even prior to that, because there's some trauma in my past, and I was dealing with that and the awakening, and hell, it's been going on for 25 years, something like that. But in saying that, I don't diminish what any of the audience is going through, and I certainly don't diminish you or your experience, or even myself. Where I'm going with this is to have an awareness with the audience that everybody is, like you were talking about, Kate, everybody is going through their own journey, whatever that is. It could be trauma, it could be anxiety, it could be something just really upset them, and it has put them down the rabbit hole, the spiral of fear, right? A relationship, all of that. How can we have a conversation of inspiration and education with the audience, based on not only your book, but also your awakening, your journey of mind, body, spirit, health?
Well, I'm a person that I really like to do things. I like to think about things in a certain way, right? Like, it's one thing to set an intention and think about it, but I believe that we have to do the practices.
Yes.
And sometimes they do me, for lack of a better word, right? Like, sometimes the life gives us, the things that we need to learn while we're sort of kicking and screaming, and that's what happened to me. So kind of the continuation of that story is that after Dan died, I was just totally electrified with this zeal for life, where I realized that I had been denying death and afraid of death. And actually, if I embrace death, if I think about death on a regular basis, if I accept that I'm going to die and I don't know when, it actually injects me with clarity, perspective, presence, this give no shiitakes attitude, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was like everything that I wanted and had been lusting for suddenly flowed into me once I realized that death is as natural as birth. And that doesn't mean that death is not complicated and painful and all of those things, absolutely, but it is also a natural part of our humanity. And so at that time, my highest expression of living like I might die tomorrow was to quit that job at Google. And I had always wanted to travel around the world. So I began this spiritual quest around the world. I ended up, lasting like almost 2 years. And it was incredible. And then the biggest lesson came when I got back, because when I got back, I had sort of run through all that budget that I had set aside for this trip. And I got back and I was not gracefully readjusting to, societal life. I was getting frustrated in traffic. I was getting angry at my job. I went and I got another job at corporate for a while. And I realized one day that it's really easy to feel alive while you're walking through the streets of New Delhi or eating pasta in Italy. But the true quest of being alive and the true quest of my life is learning how to feel alive in the most perfectly ordinary moments when we're standing at the sink doing dishes. And so that's been my quest ever since. And I realized that death is something that I love talking about, absolutely. But in the years since, even since I wrote that book, I realized that I'm all about being alive, and thinking about death is one way to get there. There's so many ways that we can feel alive. And so I'm all about harnessing all of those ways, including meditation, beautiful connective conversations, could be travel, could be service work, it could be eating your favorite ice cream flavor on an ordinary Tuesday at 2:22 p.m., and it can be thinking about death. So I'm all about being alive, and death is one way to get there.
Oh, I love that. It's such an important conversation. And I love how you articulate it. There's so, and I've had multiple conversations, especially with the vid and all that other stuff. And I would have clients ask me, how are you dealing with this? And I would say, dealing with what?
Mm.
Really? I'm choosing love. I'm choosing not to go into the media frenzy. And it was a whole different kind. It was a workshop I was housing. I paused for a minute because it was what? I'm choosing love, and just allowing that to sink in. And why am I saying this now? Because even in the moment of fear, even in the moment of death, and you know this as well as I do, Kate, we're dying old selves all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Old habits, old beliefs, the old shiitakes. There's death happening to you all the time. You've just got to choose love for yourself. And would you agree it's little tiny baby steps?
Yeah, absolutely. And I can tell you that, after I had the trip, and then I realized that I want to live alive every day, and that it's about finding those small moments of aliveness. I call them alive moments, where you next time you feel that glimmer, where maybe you're sitting in your house, on your couch, and you're looking out the window, and you're feeling just so cozy and safe. Or maybe you're out on a walk and you notice this great grand tree that you had never seen before, and suddenly you're super present and you're super aware, and you realize, like, oh my gosh, I'm alive, I'm not dead. I call those alive moments, and they can come spontaneously, and we can also create them. But I have a confession, which is that, I got back from my trip in 2017, and, I've been building this, my career as an inspirer since then. And I had the deepest depression of my life last year.
Mm.
Because last year was the year that I went all in on entrepreneurship. It was like, okay, I've always had this has been the side gig, and things, of course, weren't going as quickly as I had hoped, all of these things. So, and I had a lot of my self-worth wrapped up in my success or failure as an entrepreneur, which was a huge mistake. If you're thinking about becoming an entrepreneur, just do some work to extract your self-worth from your success or failure as an entrepreneur, and you'll save yourself a huge depression, hopefully, like I did. But really, here's what I learned last year out of this deep, dark depression. Number one, love. You said it so beautifully, Sue. And number two, last year, I think what kind of affected the collective very deeply was when Twitch, the DJ from Ellen DeGeneres's show, decided to take his life. And that actually surprised me. I didn't think he was that famous, but him deciding to take his life, I felt like it really affected the collective in a big way. And it absolutely affected me, because here's what that showed me. No matter how much money you have, no matter how much success you have, and you can think of the famous chef that we all know, the famous beloved comedian that we all know, the famous CEO and founder of the purse and shoe brand that we all love, all people who decided to remove themselves from this existence despite having all of the money in the world, all of the accolades, and beloved by society. And here's what I realized that if you want to be successful in your life, And if you want to survive your success, I just named a bunch of people who decided to take their life, but also think about people who quote unquote lose their life to addictions, to, you know, all of these different things. What we have to do, we have to figure out our intrinsic value. And that is another way to feel alive. So what makes you you, and what makes you valuable, separate from how much money you make or what you achieve?
What
And if
you
you're
feel
anything
is
like me,
valuable to you.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so I
Not
had to do the
not what's
exercise.
externally. Yeah. Go ahead, Kate. Sorry.
So I had to do the exercise, which was like, can I love myself if I don't become a world known inspirer and I just bring soup to my neighbor when she's sick? Ask yourself that. If you don't make all the money, if you don't have the big house, if you don't have the achievements, could you love yourself if you are just living a quote unquote small life and you bring soup to your neighbor when she's sick? And if you can't, just start working on loving yourself for that, because that's what is going to help you survive your success when you become the beautiful, vibrant, rising phoenix of your dreams.
Whatever that looks like. It could be motherhood, it could be CEO, it could be a bus driver.
Exactly. Oh my
Whatever
gosh.
that is to you. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Well, what's our time frame here? I'm looking at our, well, you know what? We kind of had a natural little break here, Benny. How about we take a commercial break on the radio? And when we come back, we're going to continue talking with Kate. You might die tomorrow, so live today. We are still going to be live on YouTube. So if you'd like to join us over there, you can actually see us noodling and playing. All you got to do is type in 11:50 a.m. and we will be right back after our commercial break.
Cool. All clear, ladies.
Yay! All right, audience,
Yay.
check this out. There's a workbook. I'm trying to make it so, there we go.
There, it thinks it's your face.
Perfect. And I love the, where was this? The Alive Year. You guys have got to check this out. The Alive Year, 52 meaningful things. And you challenge yourself every day, every week, right?
There's one challenge a week.
One challenge a week for a full
Everything
year.
from baking cookies for your neighbor to going on a walk in a place you've never been before, to just big and small things to inject aliveness into our lives.
And smile at a stranger. Every single one. I love that. Slow down.
So my question to you is, Sue, what makes you feel alive?
This makes me feel alive. Being of service. I had the same conversation and question. I've got a natural service mindset, but I'm also a recovering people pleaser. So I had to find my boundaries in that. Otherwise, you know where that went. Now I can be and stay in a position of being of service. And that could be a slow walk. That could be a conversation with a complete stranger. It could be, I'm sorry, what was your name? How are you today? Yeah. Just giving them that eye contact and a hello. Yeah. It's so simple, right? And it's so meaningful. It catches people off guard. And I'm like, I get a little tickle. I'm like, oh, that touched them.
But that's connection. Yeah. Treating
like,
people like the humans that we are.
Yeah. Especially after, being so isolated and the whole bid stuff. I love that source, God, Gus, purple chopsticks, doesn't matter what you believe in. For me, if that's what it is, go, and you're going to show up in love. Where I was going with that is, I love that you put it out there and you are surrounded in love and wisdom by these gracious, loving beings in their home in West Texas. I mean, come on. Yeah. Doesn't get better than that.
Ready to come back
amazing. But I have this.
We're going back in here. Hang on.
Cool. Hang tight.
I'm not quite sure. What was that, Benny?
It's Paul Simon's Afterlife.
Oh, brilliant.
Right?
Of course it is. All right, audience, face your fears of death to live your most meaningful life. Kate, are you really living before you die? I think you are. But audience, ask yourself that question. Are you really living before you die? And I think there's multiple layers in that. We've been having an incredible conversation. about living today and about facing fears, whatever that adjective to describe is for you in your life. And then also to have the awareness that you are facing the fears or not facing it, and then choosing which route you're going to go through. Having that conversation, honest, loving conversation about death, and surrounding yourself with light, love, and you called it in your book the alive year in your workbook, but you call it what did you call it before we went on a break? You call it You're Alive. What did you call it?
Yeah, so well, in the workbook, I have 52 ideas for big and small ways that we can feel alive. And that's the thing is I think I shot myself in the foot a little bit by going on that big trip, by quitting my job at Google and doing this big dramatic thing, because people thought it was really cool and they loved it and they wanted to watch me every step of the way. But it also turned a lot of people off because they maybe felt like they couldn't do that in their lives right now. Maybe that wasn't their dream. Maybe they had some defensiveness for whatever reason, like we all do when we see things that we want, but we tell ourselves that we can't have. And really, I can't emphasize enough that to me, living alive is not about quitting a job and going out, on a big 2-year trip. It's not about, working in an old folks home if that's not what it is for you. Living fully alive and fulfilling our purposes. I don't think we have one purpose. I think we have many. Fulfilling our purposes, our purpose, I just made that word up, is
The gatism.
is deeply personal, y'all. It is deeply personal. And so ask yourself, like, instead of looking for ideas from everybody else, really sit by yourself for 30 minutes in the room with no phone and just really tap in and say, like, if I knew I was going to die in a year or 5 years or 10 years, what do I want to do? What's important to me? Is it important to make sure that my family and my friends know that I love them without a shadow of a doubt and to do nice things for them? Do I want to take a trip? Do I want to take up painting? Do I want to paint my garage door pink? Like, whatever it is to you, like, it's important, I think, to do that, because that's where you talk about with that bridge of fear that you said so beautifully in the intro, which is like, I feel like also living alive is bravely and scaredly crossing that bridge of fear with regularity.
Oh, 100% agree with you. And you know what? Let's have this conversation, sister, travel sister. And I say this with so much love and giddiness too. And I love that you had brought up, some people didn't like to hear about it.
Mm-hmm.
And the people that did, you could just see their energy change and get uncomfortable. I'm like, ooh, that didn't land well on them. Okay, I'll either keep it all to myself or I will share it. And similar to you, Sprinter van, I've been traveling for it's been a year and a half. I was in a 22-year marriage, raised 3 now adult females, massive leap of faith, crossed that Breer. I keep saying that. Breer deer. I don't like beer.
I'll take it for the team, Sue. I'll help you out with that
Okay,
one.
he'll take it.
Yeah, see?
Yeah, I'll take
I got
it.
you.
Thanks,
I got you,
Penny.
girl. You're welcome. I got you.
That bridge of initiation and taking a massive leap of faith. And this whole conversation, why I'm saying this is because I didn't know what the heck I was doing, Kate. We don't. It's crossing that bridge. I had zero clue. I was buying a brand new house in Bend, Oregon. No clue. And I said, all right, Source, if this is where I am supposed to be going, you need to show me so many signs, because I'm leaving a community that I built for over 40 years, where I, raised my children. Everything was established there. And you're saying, nope, you're done. You're going to buy a house in Bend. Mind you, it's a beautiful, cute little town, but there's not a lot of people and a lot of people that I knew there, right? Anyways, leap of faith, cross the bridge of initiation. Now I'm like, all right, now it's time to start traveling. I still didn't know what the heck I was doing. I brought a Sprinter van. I don't know DEF fluid. How do I change a Mercedes? A diesel? can I really put diesel while the car's still running? It was just a joke. And thank God I have my dog with me, because he and I are looking at each other and it's rattling and shaking. I'm like, dude, I don't know. I'm scared too, but we're doing it. Right?
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh
I
my
still don't know what
gosh.
I'm doing, but I'm
Yeah.
doing it. And that's living of service and choosing. We talked about the recovering people pleaser in me, right? And having that conversation, whether it's the people pleaser, the old CEO complex story in your head, the marriage, the not marriage, but taking that leap of faith and doing it, but circling back to when you first had the conversation or stated when you started the travel, a lot of people, some of them didn't even like to hear it because they got triggered. And I found that to be quite true with many of my old community, right? It's interesting. And
Oh, yeah. Well, I think it's good. I think the thing is that we're all creating a ripple effect all the time, whether we're traveling in a Sprinter van or smiling at, or frowning at the attendant at the gas station. Like, we are constantly creating a ripple effect, and I think it's important for us to be cognizant of what kind of ripple are we creating, and whether or not someone is a naysayer or defensive. If you are doing something that is requiring courage and is fulfilling your desires, dreams, purpose, extending out of your comfort zone and isn't hurting anybody, then the thing is we are creating a ripple effect. And I can tell you that even not even the trip itself, but even the title of my book and movement, You Might Die Tomorrow. I have a friend from high school. Her mom passed away from cancer, and she and her mom were just so close. Just they had this beautiful relationship. And so, of course, she experienced deep grief, and grief is disorienting. It's challenging. I mean, it's all the things. And so for years, and it sort of coincided with me starting the movement. It was around the time that her mom passed away. And so she was like the person that was always, when I would post something about how mortality can be this incredible key to many of the things that we look for, she was always the person in a totally respectful way. She was coming in and saying, oh, like, I can't imagine how death could do this, but she had a very intelligent argument about it, but she was not on board at
yep,
all. She was
yep,
not on board. And that went on for years. No matter what I posted, she would come in and say something that was intelligent and friendly, but was clear, like, this, I don't subscribe to this.
yep.
I'll never forget the day I got an order on my website for like 4 shirts and 2 tote bags and 5 stickers. And it was from her. And I'm like, what? And so I went and I contacted her. She had actually contacted me, and she was like, Kate, I know it's been years and I know I've been against, but I finally get it. I get it. Like, my partner and
Oh,
I were buying a van, we're going to travel, and it literally took years. And so the thing is I encourage you, even if someone is raining on your parade, is doubting you, doubting your dreams, we're constantly planting seeds in people's minds that we have no control over if and when they germinate. But know that when you're living in your truth and you're living in your courage and you're living in your love and your kindness, that you are absolutely changing the world unequivocally. And if you feel like you need to open a nonprofit to change the world or write a book, sure, great, do those things. But do not forget that every single day you're creating a ripple effect and you are absolutely changing the world.
drop the mic. We're done. That's beautiful. And it's so true. The ripple effect, the thorn in your hiney, and if you, and I say that the thorn, or, the ripple effect's a little bit sweeter and sugarier and juicier, I suppose. But the thorn, when you get triggered, right? You're still going to think about it. It's still, until that trigger goes away, you're still going to be ruminating, going, oh, or, oh, okay, I need to lean into that, or doesn't work. It's having that sense. And I say this, and it was downloaded years ago when I was actually live on the radio, and it's about having the CCs in life: compassionate curiosity for not only
Compassionate
yourself,
curiosity.
the CCs in life, having compassionate curiosity for yourself and the other person in the situation. Curiosity elicits play, right? And it takes out that sting, and alleviates that angst if you're in the midst of a conversation. And it's okay to have emotions in a conversation. It's okay to have that when you have curiosity and when you're compassionate and not aggressive, right? And I that's a conversation in here too. And for whatever reason, we needed to have that conversation today, because going down the rabbit hole of fear when you talk about death, or when you talk about being alive,
Yes.
it's the same conversation. It's the
Mm-hmm.
exact same conversation. You're
Mm-hmm.
nodding your head. To the radio world, Kate's nodding her head, yes.
I'm a very active listener. I'm with you. I'm with you. And I'm with everybody who's watching and listening too. Totally. Yeah. And I think that it is, yeah, it's about living. It's about curious, compassionate. And I think my next book is going to be called Zoom Out. So I haven't written one sentence of this book yet. I did write an outline. So you guys are getting like the preview. I've never actually talked about this on any show before,
Oh,
but so often in life, I have found that so much of my angst, so much of my anxiety, and especially so much of my judgment against other people is solved by zooming out. Right. And so what I like to do, and you can do this, think about someone that's driving you crazy in your life, and imagine, zoom out and imagine them like almost like the game of life. They're a soul and they're walking their own path and they're messing up and they're doing their best and they're desiring love and they're scared and they're brave and they're all those things. And that action alone, that exercise alone has helped me to dissolve so much judgment and expectation that I have against other people. Like, we are truly all in this together, truly. Like, we talk about collective consciousness, but really, like, zoom out. Zoom out on your problems. Zoom out on your anger towards somebody else. I used to have a lot of anger towards my mom. She was an alcoholic growing up my whole life. And I had a vision once when I was doing water healing, which is where you like lay in a big pool that's the same temperature of the body, and someone takes the back of your head and just gently flows you, right? It's sort of like a drug-free psychedelic experience, because I closed my eyes and in that water, I felt like I was floating, and I had a vision come up. And I had so much anger towards my mom. But in that vision, I saw my mom holding me when I was a baby, and she was looking at my face with so much love. And I saw her as the beautiful and flawed and human that she is, with her whole life, starting her as a baby and her as a little girl, and the traumas that she experienced. Her dad died when she was 15, all these other things. And in that moment, when I was able to see her as just loving me with all her heart, but also being the flawed soul that she is, just like all of us are, that my anger has disappeared. And of course I still get mad at her here and there, but I don't have that deep-seated anger that I had against her for so many years. And so I encourage you, people are souls. We're all messed up. We're all trying to have a good time and be loved, and just really keep that in mind, especially when we're in conflict.
especially when we're in conflict. And at the top of the hour, Kate, thank you, by the way, that was beautiful. Thank you for sharing that with the story with your mom. Where was I going? I was going to say, because the conversation, being alive and being deaf, it's the same type of conversation to me. It's a choice. It is a choice. And I tell you this through my own trial and error, and I walk the talk every hour, every day. It hasn't been easy. My soul's decided to have its own little journey. And we said resilience earlier. It's like my mantra for the last, I don't know how many years. And the ability to bounce back, and to probably the last 20 or 15 years that I've been doing the radio show and creating the environment that facilitates that resilience, facilitates that bouncing back. And having that conversation about bouncing back and the resilience, I think I know is really important. And living full out, I think there was some media that somebody said that, but what is full out to you and living alive? You talk about it in your workbook, and I love the 52 Alive challenges. I know we kind of tapped on it. We talked about it on YouTube, but we came back in on the radio about that. And the importance of finding little things of service that you can do not only for yourself, but other people. And within that, I talk a lot about, and how I live my life is with gratitude and thankfulness, good, bad, or indifferent. I'm still learning from said situation,
Oh
right?
yeah.
Yeah. You're like, oh yeah.
Oh yeah. I
Yeah.
don't know shiitake. That's one of my most favorite things to say. It's so humbling and so freeing and just opens me up to those CCs that you mentioned, which is that, yeah, that curious,
Compassionate curiosity.
compassionate curiosity. Yeah. And even for myself, right? Like,
Yeah.
think how hard it is to go through life thinking that you know everything. Like, that's a lot
Ugh,
of pressure. It's
ugh.
horrible. And also think how much that closes you off to other perspectives, other ideas, other types of people. Like I love feeling like I don't know anything and
Oh,
that
you
I'm
and me both.
constantly learning. And as soon as I get high on my horse, because I do get high on my horse, just like the rest of us and just like the best of them, I got to take myself down a couple of pegs and realize like, yeah, I know a lot and I have some wisdom to share. Absolutely. And part of my purpose, and I think part of all of our purposes, is to share that wisdom with others along
But
the
that's the
way. But
tapestry of
also,
life.
I don't know anything. Yeah.
That's the tapestry.
Mm-hmm.
We are all woven in this massive tapestry, and we're all bringing our own colors. We're all bringing in our own flavors.
And that
And
is described so beautifully. Have you read the book Anita Moorjani's Dying to Be Me?
I haven't read the whole thing, no, but I do
Yeah.
know
Well,
who you're talking about. Okay, I'll
that's
get
what
back
she said.
on
So
that.
she had cancer and she ended up sort of spontaneously being cured from her cancer, but she had a near-death experience where she
And
was
yes,
on the other side and you just described it so beautifully, Sue. That tapestry that we're all these threads and we're all woven together.
so many different colors. What there's a song, I forget what the song is, crazy color, or I don't remember now, but it struck me so perfectly, similar to what the tapestry is, you know. We're all different kinds of love. We're all different colors of love. We're all different crazies of love, you know, and that's okay. That's okay,
Yes.
right? It's
My favorite thing, I think I can say this on the radio, but let your freak flag fly. Like
oh,
we're all weird, and we're all so interesting. And I think part of all of our purposes on earth is to be our weird selves, and that takes courage. It's not easy, but to have courage to be our weird and wonderful selves.
yes, yes, and yes.
Mm. You're
Mm.
weird, I'm weird.
Oh, welcome to Sewville. This whole thing starts happening. Not
And
Sewville,
yeah,
Sewville.
not Whoville, Suville, but
Although I
we all
plan to
get the
still all the
we've got
time.
our peanuts. We're just happy to
Yes.
be a part of the Sue show because you are so weird and you're so wonderful and you are electrifying the world by putting yourself out there. And that takes courage. I'm sure it feels like old hat for you, but you share intimate details of your life on this show. And truly it affects people and you're creating a profound ripple effect. And interestingly, there's a psychologist, Dr. Irvin D. Yalom, and he is what's called an existential psychologist. So he helps people that are having fear of death, and he also helps people that are having unexplained issues that he can often link to the fear of death. And he has this beautiful book called Staring at the Sun. I highly recommend it, especially if you're interested at all in psychology. But in that book, he said that in his 50-year, I think he's in his almost 90 now or in his early 90s. In his 50, 60 years as a psychologist, he has found that the greatest antidote to the fear of death is the idea of rippling, of remembering that we're all leaving a lasting legacy and that we all have the power to leave our lasting legacy with the actions and the intentions and the energies that we show up with every day. So if you are afraid of dying, here's what I encourage you to do. Number one, start to notice endings in your life and notice how natural it is when now we're coming into winter in the northern hemisphere, right? Winter, that's an ending of the year. It's an ending. Look at when, a flower dies and then we get a new flower and it's this cycle. So start to notice the endings in your life and that will begin to open yourself up to the fact that of how natural death is. So that's one. And then another way to help with your fear of death is to just do what Dr. Irvin Yalom said and what I'm telling you, which is like concentrate on your ripples. Know that you're making an impact. Know that when you die, people will remember you, even if you feel
Okay,
so
can we
lonely and like
pause?
nobody
Okay, I
cares.
love
Yeah.
this. There's a question here, and this is something that I've had to overcome.
Mm,
Not noticing my ripples because I'm not all that,
yeah. Tell me more. What do
right?
you mean by that?
By Yeah, there's so much I have done. I really don't talk about it a lot because it makes me feel uncomfortable because I don't want to be boastful. I want to be grounded and loving. And I've had this conversation with other people that have felt the exact same way. And they're like, Jesus F. criminy, Sue, do you know what you have done? You need to share that. And I'm like, no, I don't. And here I am. I've been doing this for 15 years and I'm still in the position of, no, I really don't know. Right?
Mm,
The ripple effect.
yeah. Well, and I think you have such a powerful energy, and yeah, you're sitting with me and you're sharing your incredible energy with me right now, and there's thousands and thousands of people listening, but I don't want people listening to feel like, oh, I need to have a radio show like Sue. Like
No,
Sue's amazing, and if you want a radio show, go on with your bad self. You get yourself a
do
radio show.
whatever
You get
you
yourself
want.
3 radio shows like Sue has, and because you got a YouTube, you've got your podcast, you got right. However, the reason that you're creating ripples is less so even that you're doing it in front of hundreds of thousands of people, but more so because you're sharing your energy with people. And when I made that analogy earlier about bringing soup to your neighbor, like the soup is the soup and that's nice, but sharing your energy with people, those are creating ripples. Sitting and listening to someone without picking up your phone for 5 or 10 minutes, that is powerful. Going to visit a friend, inviting people to your house, as messy as your house may be, you don't have the right couch and your pictures are crooked, invite people into your house and make them feel seen. Share your valuable, there's nobody else like you. There's
Yeah.
nobody else that has your energy, and share that energy with people. And that's living alive.
Living alive and being of service. I'm sorry, my dog is trying to get at this box. Benny, can you hear that? Levi, come here. Come here. This is my sidekick. Hey, stop. Come here. Sorry about that. Lots of ruffles and noise. Let me really quick before we get out of here. We've got about 8 more minutes. I want to run through the contents of your book. Is that okay?
Oh, let's do it.
Let's do it. Of course, the prolong zero, chapter 0, which that's brilliant. Come on. Exposure therapy. I wanted to talk about that, but learning from my radical awakening. And I like the language that you're using here, radical awakening, and there's radical forgiveness and there's radical acceptance. Shiitake. Oh,
Mhm.
right. I love you. I love my life. I love you.
Yes.
Oh, God. We are talking about You Might Die Tomorrow. It's not only a book, it is a mission, it is a mantra, so live today. I'm going through a few of the chapters here. Following the blueprint. Decision paralysis. Hello.
Oh, we've been there. We know all that. We know what's that about.
Yeah, I just saw this salt and pepper going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. A die or die situation. Adventure awaits. Oh, you guys, in every decision that you make, hear my words. Kate's saying it, I'm saying it. In every decision that you make, there is an adventure.
There is.
You choose, right? Leave the week in your wake. Chapter 6, the everyday magic of trees, sister. Oh my goodness. One of my favorite things is to lay on the grass or just to look up and see all the trees dancing. And I taught my children that too. I said, no, we're going to go outside and we're going to lay on the trampoline and look, they're dancing.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, we can do a whole show just on the magic of trees and awe. Right? Awe. Oh my gosh. Yeah, we got to seek out awe, and we don't have to fly to Japan and climb Mount Fuji. We can literally just go look at a tree. I lead these meditation walks where we literally just walk slowly around somewhere outside, and I encourage people to, like, if you don't have a frame of reference for it, you can act like what you might feel like if you were on drugs, or act like what you might feel like if you were 6 years old on a hike, and look at every leaf and every rock and inspect the bugs and touch the tree stumps. And it's a life-changing experience. I highly recommend going on a walk and acting like a kid, or acting like a person who took a very large dose of psychedelics. Yeah, jump in the puddles. Exactly.
I love it.
So
Okay,
healing.
4 more minutes. I'm going to remind everybody, you might die tomorrow. So live today. There goes my phone. Everything's falling apart here. Kate's got an amazing little book. She's going to have another one, I'm sure. And so when you do come back and play with me, please let me know how I.
Well, for all of you that have kids, I just came out with my first children's book,
Oh,
which is
that's
all
right.
about this idea that, you know, we're all connected, because I've done some work with kids in the past couple of years, and what I realize is that I'm finding that children are feeling profoundly lonely at earlier and earlier ages. And so I wrote this book with the intention of, number one, world peace, and number two, to also help to with that loneliness that kids are feeling, and help them realize that even when we're alone, we're all connected. We're never really alone, and have that be a balm to the soul. So the book is called You Are the Cyan Ocean. And the all of my books are available wherever you buy books.
Wherever you buy books.
Yeah.
Buy books, all those websites. YouMightDieTomorrow.com is a good place to start. www.youmightdietomorrow.com. Kate, tell me what you're thankful for, love.
Oh my goodness. Well, I'm thankful for those bright blue glasses that you have. They're just giving me life right now, and your smile. Truly, it's just like your energy is so strong and vibrant, and I know it takes a lot of courage to put ourselves out there, and so I'm grateful to have had this time with you today. I am grateful for my dog. I heard you talking about your dog.
Yes.
I'm grateful for Peggy and Kim, whose home I'm in right now. Like I said, these almost strangers that invited me in, and I've got this fire crackling. So I'm so grateful for warmth and hospitality from strangers. And I'm grateful for that face. Oh my goodness. We've got puppy kisses happening over in Suville.
Yes, that's Levi.
Hi, Levi. Getting into the boxes.
Yes, getting into the boxes. He always has to kind of insert himself. And it's so funny. He doesn't always do that, but he must. Dogs are intuitive and they know the resonance of love. So I'm quite confident that that's what's happening. All right, we've got about 3 more minutes. How would you like, and by the way, the ladies that helped you with the house today, thank you. Please give my gratitude to them if they happen to be.
Oh, I will. I promise.
Yeah. Thank you very much, because it made all of this conversation and this love and energy possible. I would like to say how proud I am of you and your ability to step in the rink. And when I say I'm proud of you, it comes from a space of love and sisterhood that says we gotta support each other, right? We've got to stand together and say, you know what? There's the meme out there, with that queen, help her straighten her crown, right? Yeah. However you want to wear it, sister, I got your back. So I'm really, really proud of you, and really thankful and grateful that you have gone into the entrepreneurship and you have chosen life over death. And and I say that specifically because in everyday life, there is a death of an old self. So you're choosing to live even if there is that. So thank you very much. And thank you for shining your light and stepping into the rink like Brene Brown, my love for Brene Brown, stepping into the rink and doing the work. So thank you very much, because you are doing the ripple effect like you were talking about earlier. So thank you. Yes.
It's a
I want to
beautiful day
remind
to be alive.
Yes, it's a good day to be alive.
And we mess up every day. Ain't it great?
Yes. Mess up every day. And you were talking about this earlier, Kate. We've got about a minute, but I want to, well, I'm not going to say that, but except just share love with you. I want to remind the audience, because I've only got a minute, how to get a hold of you. www.youmightdietomorrow.com. Please go and pick up the books, ! All that good stuff at the website. Great. Thank you again. Benny, thank you as always. And to all of
Benny.
Yes, thanks, Benny.
You're welcome,
and
ladies.
To your great ladies in West Texas, thank you very much. To the rest of you, thank you. I love you. And give us a 5-star, 10-star rating. I'd love to see that. And until next week, each of you are a gift. Get out there and share yourself with the world.